who should actually put a Schneider Electric SA Smart UPS 3000va into their rack, who can safely walk past it, and does the price make sense for the everyday IT professional? If you've ever sat through a sudden power outage and watched your server shut down ungracefully, you know that a UPS isn't just an ICEDO, it's a safety net. The question is whether this 3000va 2U unit is the right net for your particular situation, or if you'd be better off spending that budget on a different tier of protection. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I keep hearing the same hesitation from folks on tech forums. Will a 2U UPS actually fit in my cramped rack without causing heat issues? And do I really need a 3000va unit? Or am I overpaying for capacity I'll never use? Those doubts are valid because a UPS sits in the middle of your power chain, and any mismatch, whether it's voltage, battery runtime, or form factor, can end up costing you downtime instead of preventing it. The Smart UPS 3000va tries to answer those concerns by offering a 120V input, an LCD panel that shows real-time load, and a rack-mountable 2U chassis. But beyond the spec sheet, the everyday value of this appliance comes from how it behaves when you actually plug it into a server, a network switch, or a small data center edge node. Let's start with the kind of environment where this unit shines. If you run a modest server room with a handful of rack-mount servers, a handful of storage arrays, and perhaps a few network switches, you're typically looking at a total load between 600 and 1200 W. The 3000va rating gives you plenty of headroom, roughly a 2.5 to 1 VA to watt ratio, so you won't be flirting with the UPS's capacity ceiling even when you add a couple of extra drives or a redundant power supply. In real-world terms, that means you could experience a full 3 to 4 minute runtime on battery when the utility power drops, which is usually enough time to let your servers shut down cleanly or for a generator to kick in. For a small business that can't afford a dedicated UPS for each rack, this single unit can protect an entire 2U column of equipment. Now, who should probably skip this model? If you live in a home office with a single desktop and a monitor, you're probably overkill. The 3000va rating translates to a higher price point, and you would never tap into its full capacity. In that scenario, a 600va to 1000va 1U UPS would provide enough backup for a typical PC setup at a fraction of the cost. Likewise, if you're managing a large enterprise data center with hundreds of kilowatts of load, you'll need a Tier 1, high-capacity UPS that can handle megawatts of demand. The Smart UPS 3000va simply cannot scale to that level. One of the practical strengths of the Schneider Electric unit is its rack mount design. The 2U depth fits neatly into most standard 42U racks without forcing you to rearrange cable runs. The front LCD, while modest, gives you at a glance the input voltage, output load percentage, and battery charge status. That immediate feedback is a real time saver for sysadmins who are already juggling multiple monitoring tools. I've seen IT teams use that LCD panel to confirm that a newly added switch has not pushed the UPS beyond 70% load, a sweet spot that balances efficiency and battery life. Battery runtime is another area where the Smart UPS makes a difference. Schneider's batteries are hot swappable, so you can replace a depleted pack without powering down the entire rack. In practice, you'll schedule battery swaps during off-peak hours, and the UPS will keep feeding your equipment while the old battery is removed and the new one slides into place. This hot swap capability eliminates the dreaded downtime that many cheaper UPSs force you into when a battery reaches the end of its life. On the flip side, there are some hidden trade-offs that buyers often discover after the purchase. First, the unit runs a bit warm in a tightly packed rack. While the internal fans are designed to manage heat, you'll notice the UPS's exhaust blowing warm air onto adjacent devices. In a densely populated rack, that additional heat can raise the overall inlet temperature by a few degrees, potentially stressing other components if you're already operating close to the thermal limit. The practical consequence is that you may need to add a dedicated exhaust fan or increase your rack's overall airflow to keep everything cool. Second, the 120V input restriction can be a stumbling block for those in regions where 230V is the standard. The unit is clearly aimed at the North American market, So if you're buying it for a data center that uses 230V, you'll have to add a step-down transformer or look for a different model that natively supports 230V. That extra equipment not only adds cost but also introduces another point of potential failure. For someone who thought they could plug the UPS straight into a standard European outlet, the surprise can be costly. Another nuance is the way the UPS handles overloads. When